The moment the masked man's eyes locked onto her from across the diner, Sarah Mitchell felt her coffee cup slip from her fingers and shatter against the checkered floor. She had spent 3 years hiding from this exact moment, 3 years building a quiet life in a small town where nobody knew her real name, and now, in the space of a single breath, that fragile piece was about to collapse. If you believe in second chances, in the quiet strength of ordinary people who become heroes when it matters most, hit that like button right now, drop a comment below telling us where you're watching from, share this video with someone who needs a reminder that kindness still exists, and subscribe to Kindness Corner so you never miss a story like this one. It was a Tuesday morning, the kind that felt like every other Tuesday morning in the small roadside diner where Sarah had worked for the past 2 years. She wiped down the counter, poured coffee for regulars, and kept one eye on her daughter, 6-year-old Lily, who sat in the corner booth clutching a worn teddy bear and coloring in a book with broken crayons. Sarah had built this life from nothing, a life where nobody asked questions about her past, where nobody knew that the woman serving pancakes and refilling ketchup bottles had once walked the halls of a billion-dollar company as its most promising young executive before everything fell apart. Nobody knew that Sarah Mitchell wasn't even her real name. Across the diner, a man in a flannel shirt sat quietly with his own daughter, a little girl no older than 5 who giggled every time he made a silly face at her over his coffee. He came in every few days, always polite, always tipping generously, always watching the door with a kind of quiet alertness that Sarah had noticed but never questioned. People in this town kept their secrets, and she respected that, because she had plenty of her own. What Sarah didn't know was that the man's name was Daniel Cross, and until 18 months ago, he had been the CEO of one of the largest logistics conglomerates on the East Coast, a man whose face had once graced the cover of business magazines, a man who had walked away from boardrooms and billion-dollar deals to raise his daughter alone after losing his wife in an accident that still haunted his sleep. He had traded tailored suits for flannel shirts, corner offices for small towns, also his daughter could grow up somewhere safe, somewhere quiet, somewhere far from the people who still wanted a piece of the empire he had left behind. Neither of them knew that fate had placed them 15 feet apart in the same diner for a reason that was about to become terrifyingly clear. The bell above the door jingled, and 3 men walked in wearing ski masks, weapons raised, voices sharp and commanding. The few customers in the diner froze. Sarah's heart slammed against her ribs as she instinctively reached for Lily, but one of the masked men moved faster, positioning himself between her and her daughter's booth. Then he spoke words that made her blood run cold. They were not here to rob the diner. They were here for the woman by the window. Sarah's mind raced back to the life she had abandoned, to the corrupt executive she had testified against years ago, to the man whose company she had helped bring down after discovering he was laundering money through the very supply chains she managed. She had done the right thing, but the right thing had come with a price on her head that she thought had finally faded with time. Daniel watched the scene unfold, and something inside him shifted. He recognized the particular way these men moved, the coordinated tactics, the precision that came from paid professionals rather than desperate criminals. He had seen this kind of operation before, back when his own company had dealt with corporate sabotage and hired security to protect his family. Every instinct screamed at him to grab his daughter and run, to protect his own hidden life at all costs. But then he looked at Lily, frozen in her booth, clutching her teddy bear with white knuckles, and he thought of his own daughter, and he knew he could not simply watch. He rose slowly from his seat, hands visible, voice calm in a way that only came from years of negotiating high-stakes deals where lives and livelihoods hung in the balance. He told the men that whatever they were being paid, he could double it, and that violence in a room full of children was a mistake that would follow them for the rest of their lives. The lead gunman hesitated, clearly unprepared for someone who refused to panic. Daniel used that hesitation, stepping closer, buying seconds that felt like hours, positioning his body between the threat and both children without the masked men even realizing what he was doing. Sarah, watching this stranger risk everything for people he barely knew, felt something crack open in her chest, a mixture of terror and disbelief and a desperate, fragile hope. In that moment, survival instinct took over, and she remembered the small can of pepper spray she kept behind the counter for exactly this kind of nightmare. While Daniel kept the men's attention locked on him, she moved low and fast, grabbing it and striking at the nearest attacker with a precision born of pure adrenaline. The diner erupted into chaos, but it was controlled chaos, the kind that gave the local sheriff's deputy parked outside just enough time to hear the commotion and burst through the door with his weapon drawn. Within minutes, it was over. The masked men were on the ground, disarmed, and later identified as hired mercenaries connected to the very corporation Sarah had helped expose years earlier. Lily was crying but unharmed, wrapped tightly in her mother's trembling arms. Daniel's daughter ran to him, and he held her so fiercely that his own hands shook. In the aftermath, as police lights flashed outside the diner windows, Sarah and Daniel sat across from each other for the first time, two strangers who had both been hiding entire lifetimes behind ordinary disguises, both parents who had sacrificed everything for their children's safety, both people who had learned that courage often looks like an ordinary person refusing to look away when it matters most. Something unspoken passed between them, a recognition of shared struggle, a fragile beginning neither of them had expected to find in the wreckage of near tragedy. If this story moved something in you, if you found yourself holding your breath, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who believes that even in our darkest moments, there are still good people willing to stand up and protect each other. And before we go, I want you to comment the word hero below if you believe ordinary people are capable of extraordinary courage when the people they love are in danger. Sarah Mitchell finally exhaled, looked down at her daughter's tear-streaked face, and understood that sometimes the life we run from and the life we're meant to find collide in the most unexpected places, in a small roadside diner, on an ordinary Tuesday morning, when two broken families discovered that healing often begins with someone brave enough to say, "Not today."